I'm not there. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel one more time. Thank you for joining us. Today we are with Alex. She's from England and we will be talking about life experience, thoughts and feelings. Hello Alex.
Hi.
How old are you, Alex?
I'm 37.
37. How was your childhood?
It was good. It was a mix. There were bits of it that were bad and bits of it that were good. We moved around a lot, so that was difficult. But we lived in some really beautiful places, like Pickering on the moors, and we had beautiful houses and things like that. So that was nice. But the moving around was hard. Yeah.
How many times did you move?
I moved schools, I think 11 times, maybe, around that.
11
Yeah.
times
For
from...
schools. And then we moved house quite a lot, but we moved house a few times in the same place. So, but we moved across the country. We moved from Peterborough to Yorkshire, and then we moved back from Yorkshire to Peterborough again. And I was born in Brighton originally, so we've been all up and down the country. So yeah.
What did you learn from that stage?
Probably through all the moving, probably learnt how to make friends quite quickly and talk to all different people and things like that. Yeah.
From the no pleasant experience in your childhood, what did you learn from that?
It's not. I think it's more what you have to unlearn from that. When bad experiences make you perhaps behave a bit unhealthily, you have to unlearn that as an adult. And I think if you move around a lot as a child, because you're trying to form an identity at that age, and it's quite hard if you're moving around, and you perhaps have to work on your self-esteem and your identity a bit when you get older. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How was your adolescence?
Well, that was quite difficult. So I moved schools halfway through my GCSEs, so I had to start new subjects and do them in a year. So it was quite stressful because we just moved across the country, and I think I had some mental health problems at the time, and I was quite depressed. And it's hard being a teenager anyway, but when you have to start all over again in a new place, it's very difficult.
What do you mean, sorry, with mental health? What kind of stuff?
I was just quite depressed and anxious. But obviously, at that age, I didn't really know what mental health was, and I couldn't really express it to anybody. And I was a self-harmer from quite young, and then it stopped, and then it started again in my teens, and it was quite bad. And I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anybody else that did it. I'd never heard of it. Nowadays, there's a lot more information about it on TV and all around. But at the time, I couldn't talk to anybody about it because I just didn't understand what was going on really. And
about your parents, how they
didn't know until quite late on, because I just did it on places that they couldn't see, and in the end it was my school, I think, that spoke to them about it, and I had to go to the doctors, and the doctor wasn't very good either. I just think there wasn't a lot of information about that type of thing around at the time, and I couldn't really talk about why I was doing that or how I was feeling, because I didn't have any frame of reference as a child. It's strange being a teenager, isn't it? Because you look like an adult and you're starting to do adult things, but you don't have the life experience to sort of understand what's going on. What's going on? Yeah. So it was a difficult time for me. My adolescence wasn't there. It was a good time in some ways, but it was a very difficult time in other ways. I think I had a lot of adventures, and I fell in love and for the first time, and I left home when I was 16, and just, you know, a lot of things happened, and I met a lot of people, and I went a lot of different places, and that was good. You know, I got a lot of, you know, I'm still friends with some people I met from that time, and
So what did you learn from that stage, from your
Well,
adolescence?
that's it. It was a big learning curve of discovering who I was, and what I wanted to be doing with my life, and just becoming yourself at that age, aren't you? And I felt a bit lost. I was very depressed and lost, and then and from my late teens it became, you know, discovering my joy in life and how I connected to everything, and yeah.
You weren't enjoying your life in that stage.
I wasn't enjoying my life in my late childhood and the beginning of my teens. I was very depressed and sort of, because I'd moved around so much, just felt very distant from everything that was going on and out of control of my life, and like a ghost or something, like I didn't exist. And then towards the end of my teens, it was very difficult in some ways because I started sort of acting out and getting into trouble and stuff. But it was also the start of me being less depressed and figuring out who I was. Yeah.
How was your relationship with your parents?
It's always been, I don't know, it's interesting because I would say it was quite difficult. Because when I was growing up, my dad was away a lot because he worked on the railways, and his job was very stressful. He'd be gone very early in the morning and back late at night. So I was with my mother most of the time, and my relationship with my mother was quite difficult because she had a difficult relationship with her mother, and her mother was still in her life, and it was all, I think her mother sort of played us off against each other, and she had a very difficult childhood. She was adopted, but didn't find out she was adopted until she was an adult. She was adopted from a mother and baby home in Ireland. And,
Your mum?
Yes, she was, and so that, I think, had a big impact on her, even though she didn't know about it. I think what happened to the children in those mother and baby homes, even though she was adopted as a baby, it's quite shocking when you read about it. You know, so I think that might have had an impact on her, and then her adoptive dad died when she was 4.
When she was 4?
When she was 4, so it was just her and her mother, who was very devout Catholic, and and in some ways I can see that she tried to do things better than her mother did, but in some ways I don't think she really knew how to relate to me. It was quite a difficult relationship.
She didn't listen.
It was
was
more that she
restrictive.
was very emotionally dysregulated herself, and so when I had emotional problems and went through puberty and was you know, having mood swings and things, it was like the both of us, you know,
Both of you
were constantly fighting, and she couldn't really help me with that, and I felt like I needed to help settle everything down all the time, and that I wasn't able to do that because I was a teenager. So it was difficult, and my dad was away a lot, and they had quite a volatile relationship. Although they loved each other very much, they were fighting a lot, but they were still together until his death. But I was, as an adult, very close to my dad. I think we're quite similar in our tastes and our personalities, and it was really awful for me when he died, because I was very close to him. But when I first left home, I didn't have much contact with him for a while, because it was one of those situations, I think, where they sort of made a bad call because I'd fallen in love, and I think they tried to sort of embrace him in their lives to begin with, and then they sort of turned against him, which was understandable because he had a really difficult background as well, and he was quite traumatized. He didn't really have any help, and his mother was dying of cancer at the time, and so it was quite difficult. And I was, just, we were just kids. So I was 16 and he was 17, and his dad had died before that, I think, or his dad had disappeared, and so he's just on his own, and there was just me and him, and so I was trying to support him, and obviously didn't have any real tools to do that because I was 16 years old, and then they thought, oh, this is a bad situation for her to be in, but by that point I was too invested in it, and so they said, they asked him to leave, and then they said, you can't stay here if you're going to have this relationship. So of course I just left and went off and moved in with him, and then I was living with him, and that was it. I never went to live at home again, and I didn't really have much contact with them for quite a long time. Occasionally I would see them, they would come and visit, but this is something odd because when I talked to my husband about it, he said I had quite a close relationship with my parents, because I think I was quite open with them. I'd ring them and talk to them a lot in a way that maybe he didn't with his. So, but that might be an only child thing, I think.
So, let me understand again.
Okay.
Did you live with a guy when you were 16 years
Yes,
old,
yeah.
and he was the same age than
He
you?
was a year older than me. So
For how long time did you
I
live
was with him. It was an on and off thing, and we were in some difficult situations. I think, we lived in this single bed in a single bedsit room in a shared house, and I don't know how you would do that now. I wouldn't have the patience, but the space, we had no space at all when we first left. But I probably until I was about 21, 22. I was with him, but we moved to York because that's where I wanted to be. We tried to live in Pittsburgh for a while, and that didn't go very well because I just didn't know what I was doing at all. And because my parents were quite middle class, I didn't really have to worry about practical things. I was quite sheltered from that, so I didn't know how to cook. I didn't know what council tax was. We kept getting all these letters about council tax. I was like, what is this? Why do they want this money? and of course we got into trouble with that in the end because we were just kids. It was him, and he turned 18 when we were in that house, and I was 17, and then the other housemate was 18 as well. And we didn't know what we were doing. I had no one to ask because I wasn't really in contact with my parents much, and he didn't have any parents, so we just it was difficult.
Living the life.
Yeah.
What did you learn from your mom?
From my mum, I think maybe has passed on some measure of resilience to me. I don't know, it's been an ongoing difficult relationship with her. I love her very much. She's still in my life, obviously. She lives not far from me now. But it's just been, I don't know, that's a long, complicated journey that I'm still going on. She's very aesthetic. She's very into how things look. In quite a deep way, like the house was always beautiful. She took a lot of joy in colours and clothing and fabrics and things, and that was her, how she expressed herself, I think. And that I also take a lot of joy in how things look. That sounds really shallow. I don't mean it in a shallow way. I like, flowers and trees and patterns and things. I enjoy those things, and so perhaps I got that from her. And she also loved art and things, and
Love art.
yes, and I remember she had all these Botticelli pictures on the fridge, and from being a little girl, I would look at them and
Botticelli.
Botticelli, yeah, Botticelli, yeah, and
And what did you learn from your father?
My dad, he's really into comedy.
Comedy.
Comedy, like yeah, and he really liked politics. He was always talking about politics and the news. He's very left wing, so that did have an impact on me. And we used to talk before he died. The last few years, it was over the pandemic, so we didn't get to see each other much, sadly. But he would ring most evenings and we'd talk for a long time about. He didn't really like Jeremy Corbyn, and I did, and we'd have these long discussions about it. But he gave me that, I think. So it's not so much what you learn from your parents, is it? It's what they pass down to you. It's about what you learn from them, but what personality traits you have from them as well, that they've given you. And
Are you comfortable with yourself?
No.
No. Okay.
But that's a good and a bad thing, isn't it? It's something to work on. It's good to be assertive and have boundaries, but then also, you don't want to be too complacent about who you are and the things you're doing. You want to have a bit of self-examination going on as well, don't you? To be a decent,
time, no?
Yeah, to be a decent person, and you've got to, not just be really sure of yourself all the time. That's not so good. But I probably could work on being a bit more assertive, having a few more. Self-esteem's always been a problem with me, I think. It's something to work on because it can make you behave a bit strangely sometimes, I think.
Yes, self-esteem. Could you change something from your life?
No, I don't think I would, because I'm happy with how I've ended up, I think, in the situation that I've got to. And you don't know, if you mess about with things like that, changing things, you don't know what effect it will have. And like all the bad things that have happened and have made good things happen as well. It's all tied up together. I wouldn't be able to change any of it, I don't think. I do think about that a lot, but no, I don't think I would.
Okay. What do you do when you are having hard times?
I really like walking. I could walk for hours and days. I do a lot of walking, hiking around here. It's beautiful for hiking around here. That's and music. I like music. I listen to a lot of music and reading.
Reading and music.
Oh, films. I love films.
Yes,
And art again. It's like what my parents gave me. I had I grew up in a house full of books and pictures and a piano and
Yes. What have you learned from your children?
A lot of things. I probably learned more from my children than I have from anything else in my life, I think. Just patience mostly. I mean, not that I'm the most patient of people, but you have to just learn patience. And also, I heard somebody say that they really make you. It's not them you have to parent. It's yourself, because you get you have all these responses to the things that they're doing, and it parts of yourself you didn't realise existed sort of rear their ugly head, because you in your reactions and your ways of dealing with things, and so it's a very interesting experience, parenting, isn't it? And it's certainly been the making of me, and I think I've calmed down a lot, because you just have to.
Yeah.
You just have to,
Yeah.
and the selflessness involved. Well, I don't have anything to compare it to, because perhaps people who don't have children also come to this, learn these things as well. But just having to prioritise somebody else's needs all the time, it helps you grow as a person. I think helps you grow into adulthood and being a more mature person, I think. Yeah. And time as well, it has an effect on your sense of time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. Seems like time's going just so fast now as soon as you have children, and you know because you remember when you're a child, it seems to go on forever, doesn't it? Each year is so long, a year. And there's some holidays goes on for like months and months, and as an adult it seems like everything's whizzing by as soon as you have children, because it wasn't like that before I had children. Now it is.
Change the perspective of the time.
Yeah, it has.
So everything went. What do you think a child needs?
Oh, well, I mean, love is
Love.
cliched, but they do primarily need to be loved, and just have somebody's goodwill, and ability to be flexible, and see them as a person that has their own needs and is going to develop in their own way, and sort of support them in that, and also, to an extent, stability. But sometimes the stability is love, isn't it? It's somebody being there.
Are you living a perfect life? I mean, are you living how you want to live?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, obviously, you always fantasize about having more money and I suppose money equals freedom. I would love to be able to spend more time. Or I would love to be able to have my husband spend more time with me because he doesn't have to work as much. Or I'd love to spend more time all together as a family. But yeah, I love Hexham Bridge, and I love my husband, I love my children, and yeah,
Yes.
I'm living the perfect. I mean, it's probably not generally accepted as the perfect life. It wouldn't be other people's idea of the perfect life.
But for you, it's
I'm very
perfect.
happy with it. I'm very happy with it. It's a turn up for the books for me. I didn't expect to be in this situation. Yeah.
What does love mean to you?
Oh, that's a deep question that you could spend a long time talking about that. I guess it depends on the type of love. There's lots of different types of love, and they're all different for different people. Like, it could look completely different from one person to another, can't it? I do believe in like romance and the mystical side of love and everything. Didn't used to. When I met my husband, was very. It was like I looked across a crowded room and there he was, and I felt like the first time I met him, and we were friends for a while. We didn't get together until years afterwards. But it turned out he had also thought the same thing, because I thought I was being ridiculous. I thought, Alex, don't be stupid, that's just some random man. And it turned out he had felt the same. He'd written it down because he keeps journals. So he's got loads and loads of them, and he'd written it down on the night that we met, that he'd seen me across the room. So that was quite magical, wasn't it? But day to day, like, love is it's mundane and it's mystical, isn't it? It's something you do work at, and it's about like trust and support and general just kindness and goodwill towards somebody, and seeing the best, choosing to see the best in them, and support them in the way that they want to be supported. Yeah.
What does forgiveness mean to you?
Oh, I used to be, when I was younger, I used to be really into forgiveness. And I thought, I remember having a long conversation with my friend about how prisons shouldn't exist, because if people behaved in a way that harmed other people, that's like a mental health problem, because everybody should want to get along, and But I've probably done an about turn as I've got older because I have been in situations where I've forgiven people and it's been to my detriment, you know, because they've continued to do the same things and it's hurt me. And so I think it's, you know, you can forgive people on a personal level and perhaps also not let them back in the position they were in your life because they've shown you who they are. So I don't know whether
Boundaries? And talking about boundaries?
Yeah, boundaries. So perhaps forgiveness is good in the way that it applies to you and yourself. Forgiving yourself is important, isn't it? And also, and not harbouring grudges that take your energy from you towards other people. You can't be bothered to be hating anyone or thinking constantly about how you've been wronged or whatever. Like, it's good to let go of that, but it's not necessarily always good to straight up just forget about what somebody's done.
Yes. And then carry on.
Yeah, it's not.
Mm-hmm. Do you speak lovely and gently to yourself?
Not always. I think I've got better at that as I've got older. Certainly when I was younger I didn't. I was there. But I've sort of talked myself round into it because I thought, you feel like a burden on other people. All that happens is if you're unkind to yourself is you become more of a burden on other people because you're very unhappy, you're making yourself unhappy and so it's good for everybody for you to be kind to yourself. It helps everybody. It's not just selfish, it's a good thing to do so that you can function healthily and positively in your environment and to the people around you.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank
Was a lovely interview.
Thank
You for sharing with us your life experience, your thoughts and your feelings. And thank you everyone for watch this video. I hope you enjoyed this interview. And take whatever you need and see you in the next. Bye. Phew. You said, we finished?
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
It's weird, isn't it? It's not. It's like I should be asking you these questions back. I'm gonna ask you these questions. Have you
Who told me 3 days ago? A friend of mine asked me. Dice, I know a man that is in Hebden Bridge and he's running the page Hebden Bridge web. Hebden web,
yeah.
And she said he has like a videos in his that page, and he did interviews. He said, I will ask him to interview you. Y le digo, yes, I'm here. I'm here.
But you should be interviewed with these questions.
Yeah, the thing is, as a journal, look, for me it's very hard. Don't put my spoon in the interviews, it's very hard. So hold on, it's like, because some